think my time is expired. Well, after all my biography, well, it's currently it was in the in the reality. I'm a proletariat member of parliament for the last more like 27 years. 7th time elected to Lithuanian parliament. The same time in Council of Europe from '93, so 25 years. And I was chairman of Human Rights Committee in my country and head of Foreign Affairs Committee. Simply just mentioned some sentiments about Second World War. Simply my mother was, she was captive by in the Nazi time by Gestapo, and she spent years in a Nazi concentration camp. That was the reason that I became a founder of museum, to commemorate those terrible years. Never again will be repeated in Europe. But coming back to our revolution time, the title, Mr. Chairman, of all our event is Berlin Wall. So coming back to those times, I was part of our democratic revolution, being a teacher of literature at my Vilnius University. The business, the main essential business in our part of the world probably was that we never accepted communist realities like our realities. So that was the basis in 70s, 60s, 80s, 90s, that it was temporarily there. Not only for the reason of terror against our intellectuals, terror against our resistance movements, terror against our main religion. I remember the years when with a huge inscription on the wall of my school, "Religion is a poison for the masses," and Karl Marx in every place, especially in the main cathedral church in Vilnius, starting with the huge, colorful posters of Charles Darwin, to remember that we are descendants of some animals in the place where usually Jesus Christ should be in the church. So 700, more like 700 churches were closed down during the Soviet Joseph Stalin time in my mostly Catholic country, Catholic Protestant. So in this case, I remember the times when BBC and Radio Free Europe and Voice of America was whispering under jam in my father's room. And we have knowledge that get Beatles music was dangerous, and we resisted trying in our schools to make our black market of Beatles rock and roll and jeans, and everything was related to the Western realities. That was the reason when I came here in Berlin from Eastern side with my father in something like in '77. I came, step by step to this wall, feeling that this fear of the border of the Berlin Wall was installed by Communist Army, by the troops from German Democratic Republic side. But we know that the freedom was outside. So we have not changed during the last 30 years. And we still have, probably a little bit paranoid, but still we have a feeling of danger for our freedoms, and we try to defend them. That I am so glad that NATO expanded, and we Baltic states become members of NATO, and we value so much, and we look that Brexit. It's so crazy deal for all of us. Well, we try to be together. We try to go against Mr. Trump idea, America first, or France first, Lithuania first, and try to get the old idea of our revolutionary time, democracy first, solidarity first. That was the idea of '89, and we try to be on the same line, democracy first, solidarity first. to be a little bit out from naked geopolitical interests and defend civil rights, human rights, and try to check our progress in human rights. For example, in my country, finally, after years and years debates, LGBT community have freedom to express during the last demonstrations in Vilnius, colorful demonstrations. And having behind me Catholic country, I am glad that we coming to near to more Scandinavian values, human rights values. Well, that we have understanding how to defend private freedoms of everyone to be different. That was our way. And economy was, I don't know what was the reality behind that. The economy was behind that. Behind growing of tolerance was the growing economy. So economy become much more, I have all numbers who will be not interesting for you. Well, it's small country, not so important, Lithuania, to give 12, 20 examples of the economy grow, Latvia, Estonia, but we have fantastic grow, and we now enjoy much more middle level average of development of economy for our citizens during last 30 years. And we have 80% of popularity of European Union in opposite to British realities. No one party have an idea about Brexit, and we are behind unity of European Union. So it's boring news. We are now have idea to destroy European Union. We have idea to cement solidarity of democratic countries, and we are against totalitarian regimes who are trying to interrupt to our life inside and destroy our belief in togetherness of values produced by French Revolution 1789 and Jeffersonian values who hope will be winning in United States inside of discussion between two main parties. So coming back to the situation for the more foreign point from outside, 89. So 1989, we make our Baltic chain 3 months before Berlin Wall was dismantled. The Baltic chain that means demonstration of for independence of Baltic countries against Soviet Union was declared by more like 2.5 million people standing in one chain from Vilnius, Riga, Tallinn, and declaring that we not agree with communist realities. For some African countries, probably if you remember 30 years ago, the Soviet support for African countries, remembering Moscow Lumumba University and other things created for the Soviet development. Probably you have some other experience remembering their influence from Leonid Brezhnev time. But from our point of view, we have our perspective that their reality not become our reality. And we were telling to them that we will restore our pre-war fruitful statehoods, independent statehoods. Well, before Second World War, Finland, Poland, Baltic states were successful in building their states until 1940, until Molotov-Ribbentrop, Adolf Hitler-Stalin agreement. And we were always keeping idea to restore our full democratic statehood. And for me it was fantastic opportunity just 1 year ago to collect those countries who were successful building democracies 1918, independent, and those countries who have lost that 1918, like Ukraine, Georgia, and successful like Finland, Poland, and Baltic states, and 1940. All those things were always presented in our independent underground wall during the Soviet communist occupation, and for me was so challenging the Mr. Putin's statement that Soviet Union was just a few years ago that and the Soviet Union was a good union, and it was Soviet Union was great. Losing Soviet Union was a great tragedy for Russia. For example, I would like to share with you my grandmother memory. My grandmother told me, she was a bourgeois lady, pre-war time, 1912. She visited St. Petersburg, and after that, she saw in independent Baltic states how white Russian, that means the opposition, members of Russia opposition against communist regime were going through Riga, Tallinn, Vilnius to Paris, London to be in emigration. The families from Petersburg, the intelligence, Russian, fantastic families. And she told me, before revolution, we counted that Russia is Western country. Paris, London, Petersburg, Warsaw, Berlin. After that, that become East. How it's possible? East means totalitarian regime. So in those realities related to the 20th century, we're coming to 21st century with the legacy. And when just Mr. Putin declared that he, on the 8th of December, the day of when they signed this dismantling the Soviet Union, 8th of December 91, yes. They were declaring again unification of Belarus and Russia. And Russia have right with Belarus to make again united space, but united space by not extremely democratic basis, not on extremely democratic basis. Having this intervention you mentioned to our internet world by artificial troll fabrics created to attack our democratic elections, I have some doubts that we can be so relaxed, and we need to defend not only Union, not only NATO, but we should be, Western world should be present in Africa, in Mali, for example, against, of course, terrorist threats, but at the same time helping Africans to build their civil institutions against, I'm sorry to say, Chinese and probably Russian intervention, who have nothing to do with our European Union and NATO values. But for that reason, to have right to talk, we need to put money for support against terrorist threats to honorable governments of Africa and support them critically with all needs. Coming back to our years 89, I would like to say that I was so glad to be part of our exports of our revolution from Vilnius. Can you imagine that we printed in 89, in the year 89, a few months before Berlin Wall, 83 newspapers for 19 cities of Russia, 51 Ukrainian newspapers from 25 Ukrainian cities, six Belarusian democratic movements printed their newspapers, and the same all democratic movements from Georgia, Moldova, and distinguished countries like Armenia, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan have printing bases in my city. So coming from this cradle of our revolution from 89, we always feel that Berlin Wall means for us part of us. And dismantling Berlin Wall after we started our revolution 3 months later, we were congratulating our German friends together with Poland. And we have an idea that we will go forward building strong democratic institutions. It was a case, partly not a case in some values. We still need to make some homeworks about Second World War. I'm so glad to have here exhibition about Holocaust and brutality of Nazi regime. We need to learn from Second World War how to be patient and tolerant, and I hope we will do all homework was done by Germany after Second World War, the Versöhnung, the dialogue with the past, very heavy dialogue with the past, having critical eye on our behaviors before. Thank you so much.
Lithuania was a very important country in history. Just remember Rzeczpospolita. That was a very unique case showing how democracy could work. Within 20 years, 30 years of independence, per capita in Lithuania nowadays is higher than in Hungary, higher than in Poland, and 5 times higher than in Ukraine. When Soviet Union was collapsed, they practically was equal, a little better than Ukraine, but practically they were one could tell you that that's a good story of economic developments, jumping into the modern world. Thank you for giving us this picture. Questions, please.
I save you from this economic number, but in reality, we are even shocked by our developments. Sorry, it's like a joke. Yeah, that's true. Yes, we have good economic average. Yes, probably related to some Nordic understandings of order. Yes, inside of our economy.
Please don't say about Nordics. Alfred Marshall was saying the same. It depends, it depends on the being of nation. Alfred Marshall used to say that I cannot see country, southern country, being high developed. But today, look how to the Singapore, or look how to the Japan,
Absolutely.
to the South Korea.
You're right.
This is the case when south part is better than northern part.
100%.
Just for your information. Well, but I like what you say.
Yes.
But
Okay.
please, questions. Questions. Just a question for the future, coming future. You
Yes.
are giving us a picture, what we do that, what should we stop, etc., etc. What?
Hatred should be stopped. Hatred.
Yeah. What is your look, at least, on one hand, what happened with your country, with Ukraine? Before collapse of the Soviet Union, western borders for you were closed. Eastern borders were open with Russia. Nowadays, what happened with you in Ukraine? Eastern borders are closed, western borders are open. You are, and Ukraine also like a terminus, I'm working in Kiev also, in the Armenia, professor at the university, and I can say that the main problem of the country is that just having an open western economic borders not enough for the country's development. Country cannot export to the Russia. Country cannot nowadays when the Nord Stream 2 will be exploited, they will be cut, the gas supply to Ukraine will be cut. You understand the case? How you see your future on that? How from the terminus become a sort of crossroads in order to cover the needs for the further economic developments of your country?
Okay, it's economy related. I'm sorry, economy related to general mood in the country. It's not only economy should be the country, should be in organized mood for reforms. So I'm just from Kiev. I came to Berlin from Kiev after meeting with the Speaker of Parliament. We're trying to help Ukrainian friends for years and years not to be late in the process of integration to European Union. We hope, we have still our romantic hope that 1927, when Lithuania will chair European Union, will be some progress of Ukrainian integration. So, from my point, I'm trying to distance from my, I have no anti-Russia, anti-Soviet paranoia, try to distance myself and control myself. And I would like to say that Ukrainians it's a huge country, look, it's like France, and they're building their current modern mentality every day. So they're paying for the business that they were relaxed for the last 30 years, too relaxed. And probably imperial Russia guys who have imperial look to Crimea, occupying illegally Crimea region by Russia army, Donbas region. They look to the weakness of Ukrainian state and not having the leading idea. Now the young generation is much better. I don't know, you're teaching what you see the faces. The faces are clean from more or less clean from lies, clean from artificial behavior, much more European like was 10 years ago. And for example, we have in Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Germany, millions of Ukrainians look to not big, small criminal rate in the databases of police. Look of their scrupulous, more or less behaviors in our countries, how they are good engineers and scrupulous artisans in some matters. So they have fantastic agriculture, and now they have started huge reform, opening the country of agriculture. The privatization of agriculture, can you imagine Ukrainian agriculture? Everything is growing, you know, it's like in paradise. So they are opening their lands for huge investments. I think country is on the rise, not looking of military losses of their territory, and having such guys, you can speak freely Russian. Where you heard somebody who will be harming one Russian guy in Ukraine? Never, ever. Russians have the same rights like Ukrainians, and people are not digging inside asking who you are. You're Russian, or you're Ukrainian, or you're from other country. So the tolerance level for Ukraine, even electing the Jewish guy who is the president now, Mr. Zelensky. So the tolerance level, they grow up to the European levels. We hope that nationalism will be less and less, even in the moment of war, will be put down. And we hope that we will have a good European member in the future with tolerance inside of their ideology. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a photography?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody raised some hand. I'm sorry, sir.
There's another question? Yeah, please. Diego, please.
Thank you. Thank you for your speech. Yeah, it's okay from here. For what I realize, of course, you seem to uphold a lot of originally liberal principles, and liberal in politics, liberal in the economy, and God, I wish you went to Latin America and really tried to defend liberalism, because it's very hard over there. You'll be impressed by how many people defend old left and socialist formulas to solve national problems and so on, and they have a very idealized idea of the Soviet Union and socialist experiences in central planning of the economy, and not to mention the closed political system. So what would you say to Latin American countries that are even population or youngsters that are really believing in this kind of very different and kind of quite old ideals?
It's a fantastic question, a little bit related to Africa too, to the old remembrance of Soviet Union involvement in socialist ideologies inside of, in Marxist ideologies inside, but that was all time, 30 years ago, before 30 years. Latin America, I have fantastic picture when we joined the Council of Europe, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia in 1993. The former member of Chavez group, of the not Chavez, of the underground from Nicaragua, Sandinistas, of some Ortega group. One of the leader. Now after that he became a leading member of Spanish member of Parliament. Former speaker of Spanish Parliament came to me, and gave to us his former Sandinist uniform to our anti-communist group, telling, we were brave and in our old communist fighting for our communist values in Latin America, but I believe that you were authentic fighting your authentic values, restoring classical democracies in your countries. We fought for the same, for the integrity of the people. That was a very complicated moment to have leftist speech to the people who were suffering under communist regime. Fantastic Hollywood type picture. Sandinist guy giving for me Sandinist uniform, for fighting communism in Soviet Union. Surreal. I would like to say that we understand, but at the same time, when we have, tell me, when we have Chile, like good liberal democracy, why your people in Latin America can stop to believe in this emotional communist ideas of Che Guevara, having prosperous examples of few Latin American countries who have liberal classical democratic values and classical liberal economies. Like Chile, probably few more. I would like to mention, you will mention better, but in neighborhood of Venezuela, you have more countries who are for classical democracy and can be good example for development. Emotionally, I understand that Che Guevara ideas continue to be, but they're exploited by Cuban intelligence, and Russian friends are supporting in Venezuela the old regime, and we will be sure that the Western countries will never ever send to Venezuela military units to support democracy, and we will count on Venezuelans that they will make their choice to have normal liberal democracy in the future, temporarily having empty refrigerators in their homes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So, yeah, nowadays there is a news on TVs that a train coming from China passing through Turkey and now arriving at Europe, going to England. That's a symbolic value, because there's, as you know, there's a Belt and Road project over China. Silk Road. Yes. But there's one road, one Belt and Road project. That's Silk Road, more than Silk Road, because they developed this to several areas by passing from China to Mediterranean by maritime, etc. Yeah. So that by train, a train is going to Europe. How do you think about the future of China's effect by Belt and Road project? Because China is influencing all the countries, all the passing countries through England. And another way is by northern way, probably passing through your country. I don't know. Yes, so that's a huge project, and now I've been told that they invested $25 billion in Pakistan.
Yes, I know that. Yeah.
And like that, it's going on. And in Turkey also try to be a part of this project. I know that from every field, people is a little bit excited about the project. And also, many European countries, mainly Eastern European countries, are excited with this project. Yeah. What do you think about the future of this project, influencing all the Europes and all the ideologies, etc.? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so very short, not misusing your time. I see the other main speakers here in the chamber, in the room here, expecting to be here presented. So I will not misuse your time. So we will is huge plus and huge minus. Huge plus is globalization. We are in favor of globalization, but we are still having. We are in favor of Silk Road, but we are against using the Silk Road for political purposes. So we are in favor to have Chinese investments, but we are very scrupulously studying what just lady said before about their influence in the massive internet. That is the reason. Well, our all intelligence, that's official news, nothing secret, are studying their offer to us to have 5G internet new channels of communication. Silk Road is transportation, simple transportation, and the communication system. We are not against rising influence of China, but we are against of Chinese rising influence to our democratic system. That is the business, and we are clearly after those methods. We are clearly on the side of a Chinese suggestion that they will establish two systems together, two systems in the country, promised to Great Britain and to us in Hong Kong, and we are still on side of to have some level of autonomy of Taiwan, not declaring about their statehood, but declaring our support to their possibility to have different system of from China and their self-governance. So from our point of view, we are will be probably joining, I'm sorry to say, United States of America in European Union, and refuse from 5G system offered from Chinese side for the reason that we have worries that their state-owned companies related to their state security, having their political goals inside of to control their people in Chinese People Republic and probably outside of China. That internet will be not accepted by European Union, but the roads probably yes, but big Chinese projects are going not so easy if we have no discussion who will build those subjects, Chinese workers or our workers. We have technical details inside of the huge projects, and we need to understand why Poland, Germany, Lithuania, and even Great Britain, especially United States, are so careful. We are signing huge projects, but we are in favor of easing the way from China to the Nordic seas, and our Nordic friends discussing the Arctic way in very, very extensive way with China and Russia, how to deal with Barents Way and how to deal with Arctic. That's a huge discussion about future of Arctic and how to deal there in the region there, and China is extremely involved in discussion with us in the north. So thank you so much, and I would like to say that we still facing 2018 different political systems. I should apologize for that, but we definitely are here ready to defend our democracies and our values. We think that our victory of Berlin Wall was so important for all of us. Thank you.